Alexis Marie Chute of Edmonton was halfway through her second pregnancy when she learned that her son would not survive because of a tumor wrapped around his tiny heart.
Zachary did not cry, not one sound. His delivery seemed almost silent to me.
Zachary was born alive, then passed away in her arms. Her journey through her grief was difficult, long, and lonely. Now, Alexis shares her experience with others, hoping to inspire them and offer some support. This is Alexis, Alberta Story. Alexis, thank you for welcoming us into your home.
My pleasure. Happy to have you.
Let's take us back to your time with your son Zachary. Very limited time. How was that?
Oh, that experience was a million emotions all at one time. There was heartbreak, joy. It was the first moment I got to see my baby. And so that moment inherently is a beautiful, savory moment as a mother. But I did know that those few minutes I had with him, that was all I was going to have.
And he was born with a tumor wrapped around his heart, and you knew that before birth.
Mm-hmm. We found out about 6 weeks before he was born that he had a random abnormality that lets tumors grow in his body. And people can live with this, but just the one around his heart was so big and so dense, there was nothing the doctors could do.
I can't even comprehend that, having children of my own, knowing that this child is not going to be with me just in a few hours. How were the days, weeks, months after that for you?
They were a blur, a complete blur. I feel like it was so surreal just to leave the hospital with empty arms. But the time afterwards was like, it was so confusing. And like things like my milk came in, but I didn't have my baby. And times where we prepared the nursery and I was expecting to be waking up in the middle of the night, and just to not have that future that we envisioned for our son and our family, the life that we had hoped for together, it was devastating. I couldn't cope with the grief at that time. And so I started to work, and I started to take our daughter Hannah, who was 1, and put her into every imaginable activity, classes at the library. The grief was too intense that I felt like at that time I couldn't face it. And even as an artist and a writer, I couldn't write for myself. I couldn't paint. Like, the self-expression felt like a dangerous place because I didn't know what was going to come out at that time. And it was only in the whole year afterwards that I was like, wow, I better address this grief.
So what changed with your grieving when you became pregnant again?
Emotionally, my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing in the entire world. I am elated. And then slowly but surely, the grief and the fear just crept in, and I couldn't imagine, after having lost Zachary, I couldn't imagine having another baby that lived. And the quietness of the hospital room when Zachary was born, like, he never cried, he never opened his eyes. Like, those things for me, I couldn't get them out of my head, and I couldn't imagine that my next child would live. And that's when it was like, okay, this is the time. I canceled work. I spent time with family, and I coated my daytimer in white, and we just took some time to be. And that's when I started getting back into my art, and that's the beginning of the journey.
And your journey includes your novel, Expecting Sunshine. Why did you write that? Why did you want to share this with people?
I think that a lot of people are starting to open up about the loss of a child, whether it's miscarriage, stillbirth, or any type of loss. But one of the things I don't think people are really aware of or talking about is how stressful it is to be pregnant again after loss. I still remember telling my family and friends, I'm gonna have another baby. And their first reaction, I think, was like, relief, because they were so scared that I wouldn't be able to move forward. And so they saw this as a really positive life event, which it was. But at the same time, then all the support kind of went away because, oh, she's healing, she's moving on. Bereaved parents don't like the words moving on because you never leave behind the people you love. Right. You don't move on, you carry them forward. And the goal is to do that in a healthy way. Look, a kiss. The writing process is quite unique, I found, for this book. Basically, my first draft was at a complete emotional upheaval of everything that I was experiencing.
And here you are with it complete. That just must feel so great.
It does. It feels amazing. It kind of feels like the first day I held my advanced reader copy, it was like, almost like I just gave birth to this, like this new amazing thing in the world. It's a rough journey, but like I really personally believe that children are worth everything. They're worth the risk of loss.
What impact do you hope that sharing your story will have on others?
I hope that people will see that they're not crazy when they're feeling these intense emotions, the anxiety, the fear. I'm hoping that they will look at my book as, you know, kind of like a journey. They're being able to voyeuristically peek into someone else's experience and see what worked and what didn't work. I think that in our culture, people don't talk about death and grief enough. It becomes a scary topic, and so it's like the things we're scared of we push away, right? And we don't want to engage with them. It's easier just to say, you know, I'm so sorry for your loss, and then not address those deep emotions. So we are very open in talking about Zachary as a family, and because of the stigmatized climate we have with death and grief, I actually feel like my kids are way better off. They feel comfortable talking about Zach, and it's just this beautiful understanding of life that sometimes it can be painful, sometimes it can be devastating, sometimes mommy and daddy cry, but in the end we're okay and we're together and the love sustains us. Something that I've discovered with my writing and my artwork and through our loss is that there's a true beauty in the resilience of the human spirit, that even after devastation and heartache, you can still get out of bed, put your pants on, one leg at a time, brush your teeth, and carry on. I think that's wildly inspiring. So that's the kind of person I hope to be with my family, and that's what I hope to share with other people through my book and the documentary film and all the artwork that I do. I really feel that even though I would go back and change that one day where he passed away, in a heartbeat, I would go back and change it. At the same time, I feel like the lessons that I've learned from my son and the amazing presence, the love that I still feel for him, and the ways that I'm able to help people, like I feel like those things bring me so much joy. And I love being able to talk about Zachary. So thank you for that.
Thanks to Alexis for sharing her story. She briefly mentioned a documentary. Alexis is working on that film, also called Expecting Sunshine. In it, she'll share more about her journey and allow viewers to experience her second pregnancy after loss. And she calls that child her second rainbow baby.